Welcome back to another recap. Similar to other isekai anime where our main guy gets teleported into a game and lives his life, this one is a bit different, as instead of a dashing face or bulky body, our boy Ark gets stuck in his skeleton body, and now he must live his life as a pile of bones. Will Ark be able to fit in, or will he just give up? Let's see where his adventures take him. Lauren Larea de Louvierte and her maid Rita Farron are both captured by bandits, and Lauren was about to be manhandled by one of them. That is, until the arrival of a large armored knight named Ark, who promptly slays them with a single swipe of his sword. Before all of this, Ark awakens in front of a tree and is left perturbed by his situation. After calming himself down, he assesses himself and his equipment and realizes that he is inside of the body of his game character, Ark. Recalling that he fell asleep after playing the game, Ark tries out his wyvern slash move and is left stupefied by the power behind it. Trying out magic next, Ark casts a simple fire spell that incinerates a tree, contemplating how he is able to use magic despite his class being incapable of doing so. Ark then realizes that he is able to utilize all of the previous skills from the upgrade path of his main skill Holy Knight, which led him to believe he is super strong. Growing hungry and sadly without food or funding, Ark casts a gate spell to teleport him somewhere, but is instead teleported off a cliff he stood close by. Reflecting on how the gate spell works, Ark instead uses another spell called Dimension Move. Landing safely by a river stream, Ark takes off his helmet to drink from it, but realizes that his head is that of a skeleton.
Man, I'm dead.
Remembering that he chose the skeleton avatar back in his old world, Ark fathoms that if he entered a town without wearing his helmet, he'd be treated as a monster. Hence, he plans to try and avoid drawing any attention to himself and teleports to a nearby town. The name of the town is Louvierte, and after exploring the place a bit, Ark encounters a woman arguing with an investigator over his failure to obtain the information she hired him for. As it turns out, the woman was an elf, which amazes Ark, but he soon loses sight of her. He, however, then finds the town's mercenary guild and upon entering it, tries to acquire a license. Initially, the male receptionist claims that it'd be pointless for him to get one, as he appears to be well employed already due to the armor he is wearing. So, Ark gives an excuse and the receptionist believes it, but informs him that before he can get one, he will have to pass a trial. The trial entails that Ark must bring back proof of subjugation of one of three things: a beast, monster, or bandit. Wasting no time, Ark leaves the guild as the receptionist and a fellow guild member draw a conclusion to Ark's backstory of why he decided to join the guild. Afterward, Ark slays a couple of boars and then an orc. Carrying the proof of subjugation, Ark spots a group of bandits surrounding a carriage who slays the guards and surrounds a noble lady and her maid. Reflecting on how different the situation is from killing beasts or monsters, the bandits take advantage of the noble lady and her maid. We see Ark again, slaying the bandits and this time finishing off the remaining bandits with his wyvern slash move. Once the bandits were dealt with, Ark checks upon the two ladies and learns of their names. And when Rita asks if Ark belongs to a noble, briskly Ark comes up with a makeshift story of how he is a cursed knight that's on a journey to find a remedy for his condition, but withholds that from the two for now. As Rita and Lauren step into the forest to take care of themselves, Ark cremates the bandits' bodies with his fire spell, and notes his lack of guilt for killing them all. Before the ladies return, Ark loots the bandits' belongings and uses their horses to carry it all. Heading back to the town, Ark rides parallel to Lauren's carriage driven by Rita, who thanks Ark for what he did, while Lauren makes Ark feel uncomfortable as he puts it, staring holes into him. Rita then asks for Ark's name and he introduces himself as a humble traveler by the name of Ark. Back at the guild, Ark turns in his subjugated prey and receives a rune stone from the orc that he slew, and is advised by the receptionist to remove them whenever you kill a monster. After a brief explanation of what runes can be processed into, Ark is given his license and he immediately checks into an inn and has the food served there delivered to his room. Indulging and imbibing in the food and drinks that he was served, Ark looks forward to completing some quests the following day. A single mother named Sayona works hard for her two children, Marka and Helena. She heads to the field every morning as the sun rises. Wanting to help their mother, Marka writes a job request asking for help. Eventually, Ark accepts the job, which entails protecting someone as they collect herbs. He arrives at the job destination called Rata Village, and the village's gatekeeper directs him to someone's home. Arriving at the location, both Marka and her sister Helena were eating breakfast when Ark knocked on the door, and Marka answered it. immediately bewildered by the large presence of Ark, who informs her that he accepted their job posting from the mercenary guild. A brief flashback shows an interaction between the guild receptionist and Ark about the job, and the receptionist suggests Ark be gentle with the client. Back in the present, Ark is served tea, and Marka politely asks if they can start immediately, to which Ark accepts, and thus Marka prepares herself for the work ahead. En route to their destination, Ark mentions that the job details mentioned fanged boars have appeared around the village, necessitating protection. Hence, Ark asks why Marka is trying to complete this mission so quickly, and Marka confesses that her mother would be coming home soon and disapprove of what they're doing. She also asks that Ark keep this information from her mother, and goes on to reveal that her father passed away the previous year, and that her mother had been raising them by herself. Her mother took it upon herself to take up her father's job to collect herbs, and Marka wants to make her mom happy. The confession impresses and moves Ark's heart, and is resolved to help Marka with her task to collect herbs. In the fields where some herbs called kokora are located, Marka gives Ark a lesson about the plant, which impresses Ark with how knowledgeable she is. Marka then suggests they head to the nearby kobumi tree, but some shaking in the bushes alerts him, and upon investigating it finds a wounded green multi-tailed monster. It bites Ark's finger when he extends a hand, and so Ark then uses healing magic on it to allow it to heal from its wound. Elated, the monster gleefully scurries around Ark and decides to follow him. Marka suggests that Ark name the creature, and after a bit of a naming session, Ark decides the name of Ponta. Back in the village, a hunter is distraught by something he saw in the forest that wasn't the usual fanged boar that would be normally encountered in the forest. As it so happens, Siona arrives back in the village and hears from the gatekeeper that Marka left for the forest earlier that morning with a knight. Returning to Ark's group, they find the kobumi tree in full bloom, and the moment Marka approaches the tree, a giant basilisk appears from behind it. Noticing Ponta's upset behavior toward the beast, Ark deduces that the one responsible for injuring her was the monster. Before the basilisk could stomp on Marka, Ark briskly pulls her out of the way and then avoids its poison fog breath attacks. Analyzing the basilisk's attacks, while defending against its paralyzing claws and whip-like tongue, Ark then uses his Holy Shield of Tutetes to defend against a petrification attack. After this, Ark uses his judgment attack that slices the monster in half, thereby defeating it. Happy that the monster was defeated, Marka notes that the villagers will celebrate the monster's death, but Ark requests that it be kept a secret, and Marka understands. Ark then notices a ring around the monster's right ankle that disappears moments after it was spotted. It's deduced by Ark that the fanged boars that appeared close by the village were drawn there by the basilisk. As it so happens, one appears before them, and Ark slays it and presents it as a gift to the village, but notes he'd take the boar's fangs and runestone as payment. He also intends that the hide be tanned and given to Marka, and the meat would be divided among the villagers. Marka then reunites with her mother Siona, who embraces her daughter, and Ark formally apologizes to Siona for recklessly allowing her daughter to go into the forest. The village gatekeeper and hunter then approach Ark and ask him if he ran into the monster that was wreaking havoc in the forest, but he denies it, as does Marka. By dusk, Ark and Ponta get ready to leave, and Ark is given a circlet of flowers by Helena. Later that night within the forest, a large group of soldiers slay a giant basilisk of their own. The leader is given a status report of the total number of deceased and injured soldiers by his subordinate, and about how a single person managed to slay a giant basilisk by themselves. Amazed by this feat, the leader surmises that the one who slew it must be either a god or devil. Meanwhile, Ark enjoys himself in his room with Ponta and considers taking on a more challenging quest the next day. Ariane's inner monologue notes how the elf and human treaty is nothing more than a farce at that point in time, and that she seeks more power. It was the encounter with a large man in silver armor that would change her destiny, as she spots Ark with Ponta on his shoulder exiting a cave and prepares to attack him. Before this encounter, Ark was chasing a group of bandits inside of the cave, and after they were dealt with, Ark finds their hoard of treasure. He also spots a couple of cages there, but pays no mind to them. Elsewhere, in Diento, Marcus Triton hears from his cohort Celsica about the failed assassination attempt on Lauren's life. As for the beasts that were set loose in Luvierte, they were the giant basilisks which were both individually slain. The news disheartens Triton, and Celsica asks why Prince Dacares was targeting the area in the first place. Triton, on the other hand, has no clue, but surmises it's from His Highness's backers from the Eastern Empire. It's also noted that they cannot allow any information to leak that they're in allegiance with Dakares to come to light, or else that would complicate matters with Prince Sect. Henceforth, Triton orders that the product must be secured and sent to the market, and that Princess Uriarna not become aware of this. Celsika assures that it will be done, and Triton then asks about his son Udalin, and Celsika details that he was escorting the product, which Triton scornfully disapproves of. Back to Ark, he is attacked by Ariani and recognizes her as the elf from the city. Ariani accuses Ark of being a bandit, but stops attacking him after she sees Ponta, and recognizes her as a spirit creature. This clears the suspicion of Ark being a bandit, and Ariani discloses that she heard that bandits that were located there were hunting elves. Realizing that's what the cages he found in the cage were for, Ark informs Ariani that no elves were found in there, and then learns from her that elves are sold for a high price on the slave market. Before Ariani runs off, Ark tries to offer his help, but Ariani flatly rejects the offer and runs off. Despite being rejected, Ark is adamant to help as he considers it an event quest of some sort. Back at his room at the inn, Ark enjoys his dinner and talks about his time with Ariani, who did not introduce herself to him. But still, he hopes to see her again and plans to seek her out the following day. Warping into a place that he had suspected was close to the elven forest, Ponta then sensed some presence nearby. It turns out it was a young elven girl trying to escape from her captors but is soon caught. The aforementioned Udalin was the leader of the bandit captors who not only taunts the girl for trying to escape, but also stabs her in the leg as well. Ark watches it all as it unfolds, and before he could make a move, Ariani appears and takes out a couple of bandits with a single swipe. One of the bandits recognizes Ariani as a dark elf, a rare type of elf, and would fetch a great price, which Udalin claims that he does not care for her, and the bandits are to do whatever they please with her. A large number of bandits then surround Ariani, but she instantly defeats them, and one of the remaining bandits recognizes Ariani as an elven warrior. Once Ariani takes out nearly all of the remaining bandits, Ariani is caught in a pinch when Udalin takes one of the elven girl's hostages. Seeing an opportunity to help, Ark appears behind Udalin and uses his armor lariat attack against him. The remaining bandits are then dealt with by Ariani. The elven captives were rescued, and Ariani notices that the captives wore mana-eating collars. Unaware of what such a collar is or does, Ariani explains that it suppresses their ability to use their spirit magic. Ark casts Uncurse on one of the elven girls and then heals to heal the wounds on the girl. This act leaves Ariani amazed at how he was able to accomplish such a feat with little incantation. Soon, Ark removes the remaining collars on the rest of the elven girls. Ariani summons her spirit creature, a whispering fowl, to relay a message about the rescued elves. Eventually, a couple of cloaked elves arrive at the scene and pick up the formerly captive elven girls. With the elven girls out of the picture, Ariani recounts the skills and abilities that Ark displayed and demands to know who he really is. But Ark assures that he is no one of any importance. Just then, the whispering fowl returns and relays a message from someone claiming that the main perpetrator's HQ was located in Diento, and that they're going to make a move there soon. In light of this, Ariani asks to hire Ark for his services. Ariani requests to hire Ark, who considers that her comrades will act apprehensively towards him, but she is willing to trust that they shall accept him the same way she does. So Ark accepts Ariani's offer. Using the magic spell gate, Ark teleports the group to Lydell River, which surprises Ariani as she notices Diento in the distance. The reason why Ark teleported them to that spot by the river was that he didn't want to cause a commotion in the city. When they arrive in the city, they wait for Danka, whose Ark is shocked by the severe look on his face. Once Ariani gives a brief introduction of Ark to Danka, they decide to reconvene at a restaurant. There, Ariani formally introduces Danka to Ark, and he notices that Danka has Maple in his name too, which leads him to believe that they're related. Ariani then informs Ark of the nomenclature of elves. Ark then tries to ask Danka a question, but he is too preoccupied with his beef skewer and beer. After finishing those off, Danka coldly asks who Ark is, and Ariani explains Ark's backstory and that he can use teleportation magic. Confirming that he can use teleportation magic, Ponta appears by his shoulder and Danka recognizes him. Impressed by this news, Danka then discloses the location of their target area within the theater district. It's decided that they shall wait until nightfall, when the security is most lax. In light of that, Ark and Ponta leave for an hour to prepare themselves, and Ariani says they shall be waiting there for him. With Ark gone, Danka notes that he is surprised that she asked for help from an outsider. In her confession, she admits that she was adequate in trying to rescue the captured elves, and claims that her sister would have had no trouble in accomplishing it. Danka then says that one day she should be able to stand in the same acclaim as her sister, but asks if they can really trust Ark, and she reaffirms it. Meanwhile, Ark is shown to have cashed in the bandit bounties and possessions. Now with some gold, Ark buys a meal for himself and enjoys it with Ponta. Elsewhere, the captive elves' location is revealed, and one of the elves proclaims that they shall be rescued and that the bandits will be punished. The bandits, however, pay no mind to the warning. That night, the group heads out to their destination, all while being tailed by an unknown person. Using Dimension Move, Ark teleports the group to the rooftop of their destination. After Ariani struggles to get inside the building, Ark uses Dimension Move again to teleport Danka, Ponta, and himself into the building. Searching around the inside of the building, they find that some of the bandits were killed. From there, they all split up to investigate the building so they can cover more ground. Ark uses Dimension Move to cover the sound of his tracks as he moves around the building, and the moment he finds more dead bandits in a room, he is attacked by a ninja. Exuberant over this discovery, the ninja asks Ark how he knows that she is a ninja, but calms down after seeing Ponta. The ninja deduces that Ark is there for the enslaved elves, and then gives him a roll of paper which she claims will be of use to him: the location of the elves. She also notes that she was unable to locate her own objective there, and then gives Ponta a sprig of berries. As a show of remorse, the ninja informs Ark that there are 2 more elves being held captive in the Lord's palace. The papers which the ninja gave Ark turn out to be paper contracts for elven slaves, and Ark shows this to both Ariani and Danka, while also mentioning there are 2 more elves in the Lord's palace. When asked about where he found the papers, Ark claims that he found them on one of the bandits there. At that moment, 3 bandits enter the room Ark's group is in, and are swiftly dealt with by Ariani. Down in the basement area, the elven girls are freed by Ark's group, and the elves are thankful for being rescued by them. Gate is cast by Ark, and outside, he notices the magic-eating collars around the elves' necks, and uses Uncurse to dispel them. This feat astonishes Danka. As the elves thank Ark, Danka tells Ariani that it's not over yet and that he will lead the elves home safely. He also leaves Ark and Ariani to take care of rescuing the remaining 2 elves held captive in the Lord's palace. Ark then uses Dimension Move to reach the Lord's palace. Watching them from afar was the ninja accompanied by another ninja, and she comments that they shall meet again someday. Having 2 elven ladies by the names of Sena and Una restrained on his bed, Triton prepared to have his way with them, but first chastises his son, Udolin, for his recent failure. Elsewhere, Ark and Ariani manage to successfully land on Triton's mansion and catch the attention of a couple of guards. Using his wyvern slash, Ark slices the bell there with a loud distraction, allowing them to infiltrate the place. At that moment, Celsica informs Triton about the intruders in the mansion, and when he claims that the invaders are monsters, the door behind him explodes. After the smoke starts to fade and settle, from the newly created hole in the wall stands Ark and Ariani, who claim they shall rescue the restrained elves. Ariani then incapacitates Triton, while Ark scares the daylights out of Dolan, and in the process finds a hidden room. Ark was going to inform Ariani of this find, but she and the other elves were far too busy punishing Triton, which irks both Ark and Ponta. Just then the guards of the mansion arrive, and Ariani uses a fire spell on her sword to attack the guards and asks that the elves meet with Danka. The 2 elves then leave, and Ariani goes to check up on Ark, who loots the gold from the hidden room. Caught in the middle of the act, Ark claims that he is prohibiting the Diento family from rebuilding in the future, and Ariani buys it. Several bombs are detonated across the mansion, and because of this, Ark and Ariani teleport to a safe location. Although the play that Ariani had in store for him was inadequate, she offers Ark to accompany her to the elven lands where more elves are being held captive. The proposal internally concerns Ark, however. He questions whether someone like him will be well welcomed in the lands, and Ariani admits that she would have to talk with the elders. In response to that, Ark claims he can never take off his armor, and Ariani asks why. To which, Ark asks if she would turn her sword on him if she saw his face, and she promises that she wouldn't. Hence, Ark takes off his helmet and shows Ariani his true visage and a brief explanation of his past, claiming that he is suffering from a curse that has his appearance transformed. Deducting that he is not of the undead, and placing her trust in him for helping her out so far, Ariani claims he will be welcomed in the land of elves. Furthermore, the elder may be able to help him change back into his original form. To that, The two formally introduce themselves and shake on their newly formed relationship. In Olav, the capital of the Rodan kingdom, King Karlan holds a meeting with his children, Princes Sekt and Dakares, and Princess Uriarna, about the recent events surrounding Triton. Sekt mentions that Triton was illegally selling elves to the eastern country, which Dakares refutes, but Sekt claims that Dakares is standing up for him. The comment upsets Dakares, who speaks defensively, but is stopped by King Karlan and speaks in favor of Dakares, while claiming a full investigation must be had before any conclusion would be drawn. King Karlan then asks for Uriana's opinion on the matter, and she claims that she heard the rumors being spread about the elven slaves causing the imposed treaty to be broken. That would thereby raise tensions with their kingdom and other nations, hence they need to ascertain the truth immediately. She also mentions the backlash from the elves themselves, and Sekt mentions that the other nations would hold them responsible. Therefore, King Karlan assigns Uriarna to visit Limbold and negotiate any tensions that have arisen there, and concludes the meeting. Alone in the room, Karlan thinks about how the situation has become a big mess. Ark and the party walk through a dense forest, and Ark decides to use Dimension Move to scout ahead, and ends up falling down a small cliff that was by a small running stream. They decide to make camp there, and that night, Danka has a whisper bird deliver a message to Ariani, informing her the elves they rescued are in his care. Ark then asks how far is it until they reach their destination of Latoya, and Ariani answers that they should reach there within 2 nights. Because Ariani was still hungry, Ark leaves to hunt a boar, leaving Ariani to spend time along with Ponta. Upon returning to the camp with a freshly caught boar, Ark catches Ariani cuddling with Ponta. In light of this, Ark plans to have some cuddle time with Ponta, which embarrasses Ariani immensely. Sometime later in Olav, Uriarna is served tea by her maid Ferna. As she goes to drink it, she mentions her suspicions that her brother Dakares is involved in the elf trade incident, and that Sekt will go after him about it. Ferna then claims that either Sekt Uriarna will get the throne, but Uriarna warns her not to speak so carelessly. To Uriarna's reasoning, what must be focused on is the matter of negotiations with the elves in Limbold, and nothing more. Ferna understands and claims that she will get to see her sister Seriarna again, and Uriarna takes pleasure in knowing that. Meanwhile, Ark and Ariani arrive at their destination of Latoya. Ark meets Ariani's parents. Upon arriving at Latoya, Ariani requests that she be let passage inside and be granted an audience with the elder. The gate to the village opens, and Ariani asks that Ark wait there for her until she returns. Ark remains outside the gate until dusk, until finally he is allowed inside, and follows Ariani to the elder's house, where he enjoys the scenery of the village. At the elder's home, Ark and Ariani are met by the elder and his wife Dylan Tag Lalatoya and Glenis Alna Lalatoya, both of whom are Ariani's parents. Dillian formally thanks Ark for all of his achievements towards the elven village, but he does rebuke Ariani for attacking Triton's manor. Ark then chimes in on the conversation and inside their home, explains the situation in full to Dillian. Understanding the problem at hand, Dillian says that he will inform the other elders in Maple to alert them of the trafficking contract that was uncovered. After explaining the situation, Glennis arrives with dinner, but Ark is anxious to eat due to his condition. However, it's learned that Glennis and Dillian already know of Ark's condition, and he is allowed to eat the food without fear. The following morning, Ark wakes up and learns that Ariani and Dillian have already left from Glennis. Glennis then gives Ark a tour of the village and learns a bit of the village history from her. 2 young girls then approach Ark, who thank him for rescuing them from the slavers. Apologizing to Glennis for his distraction, she tells Ark that it's all right and requests to spar with him. Meanwhile, Ariani and Dylan listen to the elders debate on how to proceed with the humans violating the 400-year treaty about enslaving elves. The result of the discussion is settled by Elder Brian Bond Evangeline Maple, who suggests they observe the Rodan Kingdom's reaction to the attack on the Lord's Manor. Returning to Ark, he spars against Glennis, who quickly overwhelms him with her swordplay during their sparring match together. As Ariani and Dylan walk out of the Elder's Coven, Ariani formally apologizes to her father about the meeting outcome. Still, Dylan assures her that the result could have been better, but also worse. However, Dylan laments not being able to meet Evan while they were there, and informs Ariani that Evan is getting married next year. The news perturbs Ariane as her sister's nature is akin to a battle maniac, even appears out of nowhere and tackles Hugs to the ground. Despite seeing his daughter in evident distress by her sister's antics, Dylan leaves the two, and they soon talk about Ariane's recent accomplishment and Evan's upcoming marriage. Back to Ark again, he finishes his spar training with Glennies, and later enjoys a soothing bath with Ponta. Eventually, Ariane arrives home and readies herself to take a bath, only to find Ark already in there, and acts apprehensively. Afterward, before their dinner, Dylan briefs Ark on the current situation decided by the elders. He also hires Ark to hunt down the names on the contract, while also freeing any elves he encounters. Admitting that the pay he'd receive for the job would be inadequate, Dylan bargained with Ark and offered him information on how to break his curse to make up for his reward. Dylan then informs Ark of a magical spring near Lord Crown that can remove curses. However, it's also a place where the Dragon Lord makes its home, and to add to that danger are the spirit animals who also inhabit the area. Because of the risks it imposes on a human, an elf would have to act as a mediator to be granted access there. Ark accepts this reward, but internally notes how his curse was an interesting thing. Ariane then claims she will join Ark in his quest, and Ark accepts the search. In bed, Ark ponders whether or not his skeletal avatar is a curse or not. However, if his condition was a curse, he'd be able to dispel it with one of his spells. However, spells such as those hurt the undead and could harm him. Ark casts Uncurse on himself to test this theory, and to his amazement, it works without inflicting any harm. Ark and group set out for Olav, the capital of the Rodan Kingdom, and Ark reflects on how his skeleton body is in fact due to a curse. Although he can cast an uncursed spell on himself to cure his condition, the effects are sadly temporary. Soon the group makes it out of the forest they tracked through and reaches a small pond where giant dragonflies inhabited. The giant dragonflies immediately attack Ark and chase him as he tries to flee from them. In a village pub, Ark admits to Ariane that he is afraid of insects, and while they enjoy dinner, discuss their plans forward through the next forest. Their waitress admonishes them from cutting through the forest due to its infestation of monsters called haunted wolves. Understanding that Ariane wants to go through the forest so they can rescue the elves faster, Ark and Ponta both agree to follow her through the forest. The following day, at Olav, Uriarna, accompanied by her attendee Ferna, settled in their horse-driven carriage. It's planned to regroup with their guards midway in the nearby forest to keep up a fast pace and reach the Grand Duchy of Limbold with all possible haste. Unbeknownst to them, they were being closely watched from the shadows by an elusive figure. Back to Ark's group, they close in on where the haunted wolves are said to be. Ariane then talks about how the monster's tail fur is used to make veils, which are wonderful gifts for brides-to-be. She then says that her sister is soon to be wed, and Ark surmises that she would like the tail fur to create a present for her sister's wedding. At that moment, they're attacked by haunted wolves, which most are illusions cast by the wolves. They both handle themselves against the haunted wolves, and soon Ark locates the leader of the pack. Confronting the pack leader, Ark sees that it has a similar ring attached to its leg that he once found on a giant basilisk. Ark manages to cut the ring off of the pack leader, which allows it to regain control of itself and call its pack members to regroup with it and leave. Soon, Ariane regroups with Ark and learns from him about the rings he found on the haunted wolf and giant basilisk that attacked them in the past. After that explanation, they take a brief rest, allowing Ariane to harvest a dead haunted wolf's tail fur. Meanwhile, Uriarna's carriage progresses through the forest, and Uriarna confesses her thoughts on the mission her father imposed on her. She is fully aware that her brother Dakares is the ringleader responsible for the elven slaves, and that her other brother's sect would allow things to play out without getting involved. Just then, the carriage starts to shake, and a couple of the guards outside shout that they're under attack. Returning to Ark's group, Ariane prepares to skin the tail fur from the wolves, and Ponta hears a disturbance in the distance and heads for it. Ark follows him, and Ariane stays behind to prepare the wolf's tail fur. At Uriarna's carriage, both Uriarna and Ferns are slain by one of 6 hooded assailants, and one of Uriarna's guards was an accomplice. Just then, Ponta, followed by Ark, arrived at the scene. As Ark examines Uriarna and Ferns, the assailants launch multiple fire beretta and rock shot at Ark, who is invulnerable to the attacks. Assessing whether or not he should cast a spell to revive both Ferns and Yuriarna, Ark is shocked to see that the haunted wolves from before attacked the assailants. Ark joins the attack, and they manage to take out a few of them while the rest escape from the scene. Once that was all settled, the wolves take their leave, and Ark decides to cast regeneration on Yuriarna, Ferna, and as many of her guards as he so can. While Ark does this, Yuriarna briefly regains consciousness and thinks Ark is an angel. Awakening from her unconscious state thanks to Ferna, Yuriarna learns from her that they were healed somehow, and so were most of their guards. Considering their revival as an act of God, she proclaims this to the remaining guard troops of hers. Ark witnesses Yuriarna give the proclamation from afar, and then regroups with Ariani, who had finished her personal task, and they continue forward. Finally, at Olav, they nearly get involved in a fight between a young lady and 3 angry men who are easily dealt with by the young lady who turns out to be the ninja girl. Chiome thanks Ariani and Ark for freeing the enslaved people back in Diento, and introduces herself as a member of the Jinshin clan's 6 ninjas. They then change their location to a room in an inn, and there, Ark introduces himself and Ponta, while Ariani introduces herself. Changing the subject, Chiome asks Ark why he addressed her as a ninja back in Diento, and Ark claims that ninja exists where he comes from. Surprised by this, Chiome claims that Ark may be from the exact location where the great founder, who lived 600 years ago, was from. Internally, Ark thinks that 600 years ago, another person from his world came there and started his ninja village. Ariani then asks why Chiome wanted to talk with Ark, and she requests that he help her save her comrades. In light of this, Ark mentions that he is already contracted to help Ariani save a bunch of elves. As Ark contemplates the situation, Ariani asks Chiome if she has been rescuing people since a young age, and she confirms it. Ariani relates with Chiome on that fact, and decides to help her on her quest to save the enslaved beast people. In the royal castle, Prince Dakaris throws a fit about the haunted wolves stop taking orders. Another man there named Centurion speculates that the rings on the wolves may have been broken somehow, and that Yuriarna is likely to be alive. This would pose a severe problem to Dakaris's plans to stop the negotiations between the elves and her. Dakaris then asks who the perpetrators were, and Centurion responds that they were likely elves and would have eventually arrived in Olav. Following Centurion's advice, Dakaris takes a carriage to a safe house of his. Meanwhile, Ark and the group walk through a forested area, and Chiome informs Ark that the founder of her village wasn't a beast man, but a human named Hanzo. She reveals that Hanzo was once a spy for the Revlon Empire, who took it upon himself to take in underprivileged beastmen in his care, and trained some of them too, reaching their destination, the largest slave market in Olav, Etsat Market. By dusk, Chiome goes over the plan and asks that both Ariani and Ark act conspicuously, and then make a quick escape when they're done. Chiome admits that she does not believe that everyone involved in this will be able to escape. Ark then asks if Etsit is a decoy, and Chiome confirms it by mentioning the other 4 slave markets in Olav will be targeted. Chiome hopes the sacrifices will be minimal with their help, but Ark and Ariani are resolved to help to the bitter end. Confident in his teleportation magic, Ark learns from Chiome that Hanzo could use space-time ninjutsu. Elated to hear this, Chiome goes off to notify her comrades, tells Ark and Ariani that the assault on the market will take place that night, and advises them to prepare themselves. Ark and Ariani then return to their room at the inn and enjoy dinner, and afterward, Ark dons a new mask, and they're soon met by Chiome and her companion Goman. Hearing Goman's name, Ark asks Chiome if that's her real name, which she answers it's not, but rather a title given to the most skilled in their clan. Once this is revealed, Goman gets into a scuffle with Ark, but they immediately bond after this. It's decided that Ariani and Chiome will attack the front, while Ark and Goman will attack the rear. Wasting no time, Ark and Goman approach the back gate, and Goman casts Stone Smasher on himself to help Ark break through the front door. Inside the place, Ark takes out several guards, and Goman casts Arm Bracer, which transforms his body into hardened steel that breaks the weapons of those who attacked him. Ark then casts Rock Shot, which takes out more of the enemy soldiers that are there and gives off a menacing laugh, which terrifies them. Taking advantage of the situation, Goman casts Rock Spear Strike and Ark adds to it with his Rock Fang. However, this caused a cumulative effect around the area, causing their spells to affect the entire area. On the opposite side of the fort, Chiome and Ariani managed to get past the front gate and head toward the market. During the night of the attack on the Etset market, Daycares in Cetrion's safe haven learns from the said person that the market is under attack, as well as 4 other slave markets as well. Dakaris demands that reinforcements be sent to the places under attack, and notes his frustration about his situation. At the Etsat market, Chiome, Ariani, and Ponta infiltrate the place, and a couple of guards soon accosts them. The guards are quickly dealt with by Chiome's ninjutsu, Liquid Wolf Fang. A quartet of guards is alerted, and Ariani uses her fire magic to deal with them. They then reach the cells where the slaves are held, and Chiome announces herself as part of the Jinshin clan who's there to rescue them all. As Chiome opens some of the cells, more guards arrive and are swiftly dealt with by Ariani. Outside in the market compound, Ark and Gomon arise from the rubble and are soon joined by Chiome's group, who informs them of the Beast People's whereabouts. Gomon decides to stay alone and defend the area if reinforcements arrive, leaving Ark and the others to return to the market and free more of the slaves held captive. Once they do, Chiome finds a pile of dead bodies, and a slave informs them that slaves who were sick or injured were disposed of. Ark pulls Chiome together, and they all regroup with the slave in the hall, who are then teleported out by Ark's magic in large groups. Once that was settled, Ark returned to the market compound to assist the injured and belabored Gomon. With Ark using his Rock Fang and Gomon using his Rock Spear Strike, they managed to decimate the reinforcements without a hassle. After this, the two reconvene with Ariani and Chiome and bring along the deceased slaves' bodies. Once the bodies are properly and respectively laid out on the ground, Ariani cremates them, and as Chiome watches this, she vows to become stronger. Meanwhile, Dakaris is assassinated by Cetrion, who is in cahoots with Prince Sect, who learns from Cetrion about the freed slaves and Yuriarna's supposed demise. Pleased by the news, Sect asks Citron to spread the news of Yuriarna's death and relishes that he now is the sole heir to the throne. Returning to Ark's group, both Ark and Gomon have another manly bonding moment with each other, and Chiome restates her vow to Ariani that she hopes to become stronger. Time passes, and Ark's group returns to Olaf. They ride on a boat steered by Gomon and learn from Chiome that Gomon and her will head to a hidden village in the Calcut Mountains. She then claims that she will give them the important information she had promised them. In the Grand Duchy of Limbold, Yuriarna reaches her sister Seriarna's castle, and she learns from her sister about her supposed demise. Inside the castle, Seriarna informs Yuriarna and her attendee Ferna how news of Dakares killed her and was sequentially slain by Cetrion. Evidence of her death was inferred solely from the fact that the necklace that she always wore from their mother was found. Ferna then notes that the same necklace went missing. After contemplating the situation over, Yuriarna tells her sister not to inform her father about her survival, and instead hopes to continue her duty by speaking to the elves. Back to Ark's group, Ariani relays a message through a whisper bird, so Danka can be brought up to date with the current events. A flashback of the information given by Chiome that the location of the remaining elven slaves is in the Holy Revlon Empire. As they head to the east toward the Empire, Ark wonders why Ariani's attitude changed so much, but wonders more about what new adventures lie ahead of them in the said Empire. Meanwhile, in the imperial capital of the Holy Revlon Empire, Emperor Domitianus learns of the death of Dakares from his chancellor Velmoas. Although pleased by the news that Yuriarna is dead, Velmoas informs Domitianus that the rings they provided to Dakares were broken, and that a third person is involved in killing the princess. Domitianus speculates that Sect was the likely one to do it, and asks about Fumba's progress in bringing Olav to ruin. Velmoas happily announces that his progress is coming along smoothly. Elsewhere, a worm-like monster with a ring attached to it kills a flying creature as Fumba himself observes from a safe location. In a barren wasteland, a flock of sand wyverns flies in the sky and Ark becomes super excited by their presence. On the other hand, Ariani notes that it's because of them that the whisper bird is too afraid to fly and deliver a message to Danka. Hence, Ark casts the spell Lightning Damper to disperse the wyverns from the area. However, it works too well as it affects Ariani, the whisper bird, and Ponta too. as Ark checks up on the group and frantically tries to deduce what went wrong. Unbeknownst to him, someone was watching and taking notes on him. By dusk, the group reaches a town, and Ark formally apologizes for his actions after he tried to disperse the wyverns. From there, Ariane discloses the plan on how they shall reach the Revlon Empire, and Ark mentions Ariane's attitude since Chiome informed them about the Empire. To her admission, Ariane claims that unlike the Rodan kingdom Elven, slavery is allowed, and her being an elf is notably disconcerting. They're then approached by the person spying on them before. He introduced himself as Karsi Held, an elven monster researcher. Before Karsi could fully introduce himself, Ariane puts a pot over his head and warns him that being an elf in a human settlement is dangerous. However, contrary to that notion, Karsi was a regular in the bar and was greeted warmly by its patrons. With a mug of beer, Karsi explains to them that he has lived in the town for 10 years and deduces that Ariane happens to be a dark elf. He also mentions that he hopes humans and elves can one day coexist, although Ariane notes that Karsi's carefree attitude toward living with humans is appalling. However, Karsi argues that Ariane is a hypocrite, noting she is traveling with a human in full plated armor accompanied by a spirit animal. To that point, Ariane claims that Ark is a special case, and he then asks Karsi what his business is with them. Karsi then requests that they help him with his research on monsters, and Ariane flatly refuses. But Karsi offers them a map of the Revlon Empire as a reward for their services. Upon hearing this, Ariane calls out Karsi for eavesdropping on their conversation, but Ark believes the map is a valuable item for their journey. The deal is sweetened when Karsi offers a bestiary as well, which Ark convinces Ariane to agree to the request. After that is settled, Darcy agrees to the job, and Karsi informs the two to meet him at the town entrance the next day. Afterward, Ark pays for the room and board at the inn, and the innkeeper gives them a whole barrel of alcohol for their troubles. Inside their room, Ark and Ariane enjoy the alcohol while talking about Karsi's dream of elves and humans coexisting. Amid this, Ariane gets drunk and apprehensive toward Ark. The morning after, Ariane wakes up with a hangover and mistakes Ark for a skeleton in her room. Later, they meet with Karsi, who introduces them to his companion and informs them that the whole town heard them last night. Hearing this makes Ariane want to kill Karsi, but Ark stops her. Ariane is shown to be rather ill thanks to the combination of her hangover, motion sickness, and not to mention the awful smell coming from their cart. Karsi explains that the awful smell was goblin corpses, and they shall be used as bait for catching a sandworm. The human companion of Karsi then gives Ark a bottle of tea for Ariane's hangover, but she is hesitant to take it. However, Karsi assures her that his friend is trustworthy. Ariane then drinks it and compliments its delicious taste, making Karsi's companion smile. Ark then asks for information on the sandworm they're hunting, and Karsi elaborates on it. Ariane then notices that the cart behind them is gone, and then the sandworm in question appears and is considerably bigger than expected. Spotting Karsi's companion by the broken cart, Ariane tries to rescue him, but is ambushed by the sandworm, so she tries to exploit its weakness to fire with a fire spell. However, her attack against it was futile, and the sandworm tries to attack her, but Ark manages to save her in the nick of time, allowing her and Karsi's companion to retreat to a safe location. Taking advantage of the situation, Ark pulls the sandworm out from the ground and, using his immense strength, slams it to the ground. Once the sandworm was knocked out, the attached ring disappeared. Later that day, the sandworm is tied up and brought back to the town. There, Karsi gives the two their reward, but Ariane asks Karsi why he lives amongst humans before they journey forth. A tad surprised by the question, Karsi answers that he figures he loves them. Karsi explains that his experience in the village he was raised in wasn't pleasant. Although Karsi's impression was near the same when he moved to his current residence, he has grown to love humans and foresees a time when humans and elves can coexist. Despite Karsi's dream, Ariane does not believe it's possible. Karsi then asks if she has ever heard of Lambert Town, which is a port in Rodan, governed by a human named Petros du Lambert and his wife Toreasa. Hearing this astonishes Ariane, who thinks Karsi is lying and that the marriage was under coercion if it's true. However, Karsi assures Ariane that it wasn't Petros who saved Toreasa from slavery, and after they developed feelings for each other, they got married. Since then, they hope to improve the relationships between elves and humans. Ark and Ariani then continue their journey and discuss the possibility of coexisting between humans and elves. Meanwhile, an unnamed man from Revlon reports to Fumba as he fondles a couple of women by his side about the recent number of missing people. Fumba then shows the man the monster he has in store for the next attack and feeds one of his women to it, making the Revlon man sick to his stomach. Arriving at the border town of Kaiser AK, Ark figures they've finally arrived in the Revlon Empire, the place where the captured elves were being imprisoned in. Because of the tight security in the vicinity, they decide to ask around town, while trying not to draw attention themselves. By dusk, Ark reviews what he has learned, that noises are coming from the castle, and that people from the town have mysteriously disappeared over time. However, there's still no word about elves being held captive there. Before Ark and Ponta regroup with Ariani, they hear a woman screaming and find a lady in an alleyway being confronted by a trio of men. Ark arrives at the scene and deals with the brutes. Soon, Ariani arrives, and after seeing Ark with the lady at his bosom, suggests she leaves, and terrified of Ariani's malignant voice, the lady scurries off. That night in his fortress, Fumba learns from the three men who tried to capture the lady in the alleyway of their failure, so he feeds them to his white tiger monster. Outside of the fortress, Ark and the group proceed toward the fortress, while Ark notes Ariani's prickly nature. Once inside the fortress, Ariani locates a hidden stairway, and as they walk down it, the pungent smell of beasts is noted. At the bottom of the stairs, the two guards guarding the solid iron gate are swiftly dealt with. However, Ariani has trouble trying to open it. Ark then tries and figures out that it slides open, which upsets Ariani that a door functions like that. Behind the gates were rows of jail cells reeking an intense stench, and Ariani finds bits of animal fur littered across the ground. Ponta then finds another iron gate that Ark opens, and behind it, the group finds a massive underground space with pillars all around the area. Fumba then arrives and notes that he came to investigate what was alerting his monsters. He then spots Ariani and, finding her pretty, orders her to be his and deal with Ark. Seemingly possessed, Ariani attacks Ark and reveals that she is a dark elf, which gets Fumba elated and riled up. He then demands that Ariani deal with Ark faster, so Ark tries to use Uncurse on her, but it does not work. Ariani has a dream where she is met by her sister Evan underneath a large tree, who says it's time for them to train. Evan's reason is that Ariani is weak, and weakness is evil, and to combat this, she has to become strong, so she can protect the elves being captured by humans. Evan then demands that Ariani draw her sword and show just how strong she is. Back in reality, Ark casts Uncurse multiple times, which never works. Ark accesses the situation about Ariani's condition and spots something in Ariani's hood and has Ponta deal with it. Ponta finds an imp inside of her hood, and once revealed, Ark casts Fireball to eliminate it. As a reward for Ark figuring out his trick for possessing Ariani, Fumba introduces himself by his full name and job title, Monster Sorcerer. He goes on to explain the extent of his skill in his profession, which concerns Ark, and then spots the rings attached to his belt match, the ones he has encountered before in his travels. Figuring that Ark does not believe him, Fumba summons his white tiger monster to deal with him. Ark places Ariani at a safe distance and asks Fumba about the elves who arrived there 4 months ago. Fumba then reveals that while most of them were sent to the Empire for their magical experiments, the remaining ones were used for his amusement. Hearing that, Ark slices off the monster's head with a single swipe, and admits that he has encountered a fair amount of villainy since he arrived in that land. However, to Ark's confession, Fumba's actions have fervently stroked the flames of his rage to a fever pitch. Unfazed by this, Fumba summons a horde of monsters, but Ark briskly deals with them all with his sword and skills like Shield Bash. Still unfazed by this outcome, Fumba points out that Ariani is in a pinch, and Ark then sees that an orc was about to crush her with its club. However, the orc is entrapped in a body of water called Liquid Prison created by Chiome. Although Fumba tries to summon more monsters, he is told by Chiome that her comrades have eliminated them all. Surprised by Chiome's arrival, Chiome reveals that she told Ariani that she and her comrades would arrive later. Ark realizes that Chiome was Ariane's intel and did not learn any of this from Ariane due to her prickly attitude. Just then, the ground starts to tremble and Fumba claims that his masterpiece is hungry and they shall settle the score outside and flee the scene. Teleporting outside with Ariane in his arms and both Ponta and Chiome on his shoulders, Ark recognizes the monster that escapes from the fortress as a hydra. Ark notices the rings on the hydra that emerged from the fortress, and Chiome suggests a tactical retreat. However, before they can, the hydra fires off a fireball straight at them. Fumaba watches this through the hydra and relishes his victory over Ark's group. A flashback shows Fumba being rejected by his clan for being weak as he sought superficial power. He would later gain an audience with Emperor Domitianus and Lord Chancellor Velmoas and would be granted some authority in his land in exchange for his loyalty. Back in the present, Fumba sends the Hydra to Kaisek to feed upon its inhabitants. Meanwhile, Ark and Chiome are shown to be both alive as Ark's shield magic protected them. Ariane was also alive and was experiencing a calm rage, revealing that although she was in a trance, she could hear everything that Fumba said about what happened to the captured elves. Despite Ariane wanting to go after Fumba, Ark suggested that he hunt the Hydra heading for Kaiser HK. Figuring Ark could do it alone, Chiome and Ariane go by themselves to hunt Fumba. In the Holy East Revlon Empire, Velmoas gives Emperor Domitianus an update concerning the Destroyer of Nations, and the rings of submission created from the analysis of Fumba's sorcery are nearly complete. The Hydra was closing in on Kayak, and the city guards raised an alarm as the head guard ordered preparations for an evacuation. Catching up to the Hydra, Ark uses his Wyvern Slash to catch its attention, and follows up with a shield bash and armor lariat. An astonished Fumba witnesses this as it plays out, and then Ark dodges its flame breath with a dimension move, but one of the heads bites down on him. Despite the other heads about to fire off fireballs at the entrapped Ark, he defends himself with his magic, and in the process, the head that entrapped him is destroyed. Using his judgment skill, Ark destroys 3 of the Hydra heads, only for them to regenerate. Teleporting to a safe distance, Ark prepares to use a magic spell he has never used before and summons Ifrit to face off against the Hydra. Elsewhere, Ponta leads Ariane and Chiome to Fumba's location, and he was amused by Ariane's presence, figuring she was there to become his. After a brief back-and-forth talk between Fumba and her, Fumba tries to possess Ariane again with some imp, but she kills them before he can. Chiome also scars his back, revealing he had a special spell crest seal on his back that helped him control his monsters. Fumba warns them that the Hydra is now out of his control and will kill everyone in the city. Ariane then assures Chiome that everything will be alright because Ark is down there to fight against the Hydra, and then proceeds to incinerate Fumba with her flame sword. Back to Ark's side, through the combined efforts of Ark and his summon, Ifrit, they destroy the Hydra. Once Ark regroups with Ariane, Chiome, and Ponta, a whisper bird sent by Danka arrives and conveys that Princess Uriarna has met with one of the great elven elders, Fangus. The meeting between them was to settle the matters between their respective kingdoms. Princes Sect and Dakares are mentioned as conspirators with the Revlon Empire as well. Princess Uriarna promises that if the Revlon Empire invaded the Elven lands, the Olav Kingdom would help defend them. Fangus agrees to these terms and shakes Uriarna's hand on it. Returning to Ark's group, they walk down a dirt path. Ark and the group talk about the coexistence between humans and elves. In the kingdom of Olav, Citren reports to Prince Sex that Princess Uriarna survived, and her negotiations with the elves were a success. Considering the possibility of a double agent, Prince Sex brushes this off and claims an alternate path to achieve their goal will be taken. In her room, Uriarna believes that she died once before, but was brought back to life to fulfill her angel's wishes. News of the deaths of the Hydra and Fumba reach Domitianus, who considers it no loss whatsoever and is curious to know who slew the Hydra. Meanwhile, Ark unintentionally reveals his face to Chiome and is then filled in on Ark's condition. It's decided that after they reach Latoya, Ariane will guide Ark to Lord Crown. Excited about that trip, Ark also asks to see Chiome's hometown, and she sheepishly agrees.